Your son doesn't belong to my brother, Amanda announced, standing up at our weekly family dinner. The room fell silent, wine glasses frozen midway to lips, forks clattering against plates. I felt my husband Michael's hand tighten around mine under the table. My name is Olivia, and at 35, I never expected to have my sister-in-law try to destroy my family over a Sunday roast. But there she stood, perfectly styled as always, holding what she claimed was proof that my 8-year-old son wasn't her brother's child. I have the DNA test results right here, she continued, pulling out an envelope with theatrical flair. I had Tommy's hair tested against Michael's. The results speak for themselves. My mother-in-law Eleanor gasped, clutching her pearls like a character from a soap opera. My father-in-law James just stared at his plate, avoiding everyone's eyes. But I remained calm, thinking about what I discovered in the basement that morning while looking for old photo albums. "Where did you get my son's hair?" Michael demanded, his voice shaking with anger. Amanda smiled, that same condescending smile she'd worn since the day Michael introduced me to his family 12 years ago. "From his baseball cap, dear brother. The one he left at my house last weekend. I was just looking out for you. You deserve to know the truth about your wife." I watched her performance with an odd sense of detachment. This wasn't really about Tommy or Michael or even me. This was about the letter I found, yellowed with age, hidden inside a box of old Christmas decorations. "Well?" Eleanor turned to me, her voice sharp. "What do you have to say for yourself?" I took a sip of water, my hand steady. I think Amanda should be careful about throwing stones in glass houses. Amanda's perfectly plucked eyebrows drew together. "What is that supposed to mean?" "It means," I said carefully, "that I spent the morning in the basement, looking through old boxes for Tommy's baby photos. You know how he wanted to see them for his school project." I paused, watching her face. I found something interesting. "No one cares about your little scavenger hunt," Amanda snapped, but I caught the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. "We're talking about how you cheated on my brother." Michael started to rise, but I placed a hand on his arm. "Actually, we're talking about how you've been harboring your own secret for 20 years, aren't we, Amanda?" The color drained from her face. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The letter from 2003? The one you wrote to James, but never sent." I watched as both Amanda and my father-in-law stiffened. "Should I share it with everyone, or would you like to tell the truth yourself?" "There is no letter," Amanda said quickly, too quickly. "You're just trying to deflect from your own infidelity." I reached into my bag and pulled out an envelope, different from the one containing her supposed DNA test. The paper was old, the creases worn from being folded and unfolded many times over the years. "Dear Dad," I began reading, and Amanda lunged across the table, trying to grab the letter. Michael caught her arm, holding her back. "Stop," she whispered, all her earlier confidence evaporating. "Please." Eleanor looked between us, confusion replacing her previous condemnation. "What's going on?" "James, what is she talking about?" James had gone pale, his hands gripping his napkin so tightly his knuckles were white. "That was a long time ago," he muttered. "What was a long time ago?" Michael asked, still holding Amanda's arm. I carefully folded the letter, tucking it back into my bag. "Should I continue, Amanda? Should I tell them about how you found out James isn't your biological father? About how you discovered your mother's affair with her tennis instructor? About how you've been blackmailing them with this information for 20 years? The silence that followed was deafening. Eleanor's face had gone from red to white to gray. Amanda had slumped back into her chair, tears streaming down her face, ruining her perfect makeup. "That's not true," Eleanor whispered, but her eyes told a different story. "Isn't it?" I asked quietly. "The letter spells it out pretty clearly. How Amanda found out when she was 15. How she threatened to tell Michael unless she got everything she wanted. The car for her 16th birthday, the expensive college, the down payment for her house. All paid for with her silence." Michael released Amanda's arm like it had burned him. "Is this true?" he asked, looking between his sister and his parents. "All these years you've been lying to me." Amanda wiped at her tears, leaving black streaks across her cheeks. "You don't understand. I was just a kid when I found out. I was scared and angry and you've been manipulating everyone ever since I finished for her, including trying to destroy my marriage with false DNA tests because I wouldn't loan you money last month for your gambling debts." The DNA test envelope lay forgotten on the table. I picked it up, opening it. Let me guess. These results are fake, just like the story you tried to spin. Amanda didn't answer, but her silence was confirmation enough. How dare you? Michael's voice was low, dangerous. How dare you try to hurt my wife, my son, just because she wouldn't enable your addiction? Eleanor had started crying quietly while James stared into space, looking older than I'd ever seen him. The perfect family facade had finally cracked, revealing the secrets and lies beneath. I found that letter this morning, I said into the heavy silence. I wasn't going to say anything. It wasn't my secret to tell. But then you tried to destroy my family, Amanda. You tried to make my son question his identity, my husband question his marriage, all because I refused to give you money for your gambling debts. Tommy was at a sleepover, thankfully missing this implosion of family trusts. I thought about him, about how much he looked like Michael, about how Amanda's cruel lie could have hurt him if things had played out differently. I said, standing up and gathering my things, that this dinner is over. Michael? My husband stood, his movements stiff with anger. He looked at his family, his sister who had tried to destroy his marriage, his parents who had lied to him his entire life. And I saw the moment he made his decision. We're leaving, he said firmly. Don't call us. Don't try to explain. We need time. As we walked to the door, Amanda called out, her voice small and broken. Olivia, wait. Please, I'm sorry. I turned back one last time. No, Amanda, you're not. You're just sorry you got caught. There's a difference. The drive home was quiet, Michael's hands gripping the steering wheel too tightly. I knew we had a long conversation ahead of us, knew this revelation would take time to process. But we would face it together, stronger for having weathered this storm. Amanda's attempt to destroy my family had backfired spectacularly, exposing her own secrets instead. As we pulled into our driveway, I touched a letter in my bag, thinking about how the truth always finds its way to the surface, no matter how deep you try to bury it. The fallout from Sunday's dinner revelation was nuclear. By Monday morning, my phone had 47 missed calls, mostly from Eleanor and Amanda, with a few from extended family members who'd already caught wind of the drama. I ignored them all, focusing instead on making breakfast for Tommy when he returned from his sleepover. Mom, why is Aunt Amanda calling me? Tommy asked, holding up his iPad where Amanda's name flashed on the screen. Michael took the device gently from his hands. Aunt Amanda isn't feeling well right now, buddy, he said, declining the call. We're going to give her some space for a while. I watched my husband with our son, seeing the subtle ways they mirrored each other, the same crinkle between their eyebrows when they were confused, the identical way they tilted their heads when listening. Amanda's cruel attempt to question Tommy's paternity seemed even more absurd in the bright morning light. The doorbell rang around noon. Through the peephole, I saw Eleanor, perfectly coiffed as always, clutching her designer handbag like a shield. Please, she called through the door. We need to talk about this as a family. Michael appeared behind me, placing a hand on my shoulder. Do you want me to send her away? I thought about it for a moment, then shook my head. No, let's hear what she has to say. Tommy's upstairs playing video games. He won't hear anything. Eleanor burst into tears the moment we let her in, mascara tracking down her carefully made-up face. You have to understand, she pleaded, sinking onto our couch. It was a different time. James and I were having problems, and Richard, the tennis instructor, he was just the man you had an affair with, Michael finished flatly. Just Amanda's real father, just the truth you've hidden from me my entire life. I never meant for anyone to find out, Eleanor whispered. But Amanda, she found letters I'd kept. She was so angry, so hurt. She threatened to tell everyone, to destroy our family's reputation. We just wanted to protect her, to keep her from that pain. So instead you gave her everything she wanted, I said. You let her manipulate you for 20 years, and now she's trying to destroy my marriage because I wouldn't enable her gambling addiction. Eleanor flinched. The gambling. We didn't know how bad it had gotten. She told us she needed money for home repairs, for medical bills. We didn't realize that she was lying. Michael's voice was hard. Like mother, like daughter, I suppose. The silence that followed was heavy with 2 decades of deception. Eleanor twisted her wedding ring, a nervous habit I'd never noticed before. James isn't even my real father, Michael said suddenly, laughing without humor. All these years of him comparing me to Amanda, favoring her, and she's not even his biological daughter. The irony is almost poetic. No. Eleanor's head snapped up. No, Michael, you were James's son. That's part of why it was so hard. Amanda was from my mistake. But you were our miracle baby. We've been trying for years before you came along. You were absolutely your father's son. I reached for Michael's hand, squeezing it gently. Despite everything, I saw the relief in his eyes at this confirmation. Where's Amanda now? I asked, steering the conversation back to the immediate problem. Eleanor dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. At home drinking. She's not handling this well. The casino called James this morning. She owes them over $50,000. That's not our problem, Michael said firmly. But she's family, Eleanor protested. Family? I stood up, anger finally breaking through my calm exterior. Family doesn't try to destroy someone's marriage. Family doesn't attempt to make an 8-year-old boy question who he is. Family doesn't blackmail each other for 20 years. Olivia? Eleanor reached for my hand, but I stepped back. Please, you don't understand what it's like to protect your child from painful truths. No, I agreed. I understand protecting your child from people who would hurt them. That's why Amanda won't be welcome around Tommy anymore. Eleanor's face crumpled. You can't keep my grandson from me. Watch us, Michael said, standing beside me. You and James and Amanda, you've all shown exactly who you are. Tommy deserves better than to be around people who lie and manipulate and try to hurt his parents. We can revisit this decision, I added, seeing Eleanor's devastation. But only after Amanda gets help for her gambling addiction, and only after you and James demonstrate that you can be honest with us. No more secrets, no more lies. The doorbell rang again, and through the window, I saw James's car pulling up behind Eleanor's in our driveway. Amanda was in the passenger seat. No, Michael said firmly, seeing them too. They're not coming in. This isn't happening today. Eleanor stood, smoothing her skirt with trembling hands. They just want to apologize, to make things right. There's no making this right, I said. Not today, maybe not ever. Amanda tried to convince my husband that his son wasn't his. She was willing to hurt an innocent child to get money for her gambling debts. That's not something you can fix with an apology. Through the window, I watched as Amanda got out of the car, makeup-free and disheveled, so different from her usual polished appearance. She was clutching something that looked like papers. Please, Eleanor tried one last time. Just hear them out. Michael opened the front door before Amanda could ring the bell. Go home, he said, his voice leaving no room for argument. All of you, go home. We'll contact you when we're ready to talk, if we're ever ready. But I have proof. Amanda thrust the papers forward. Proof that I'm getting help. I registered for Gamblers Anonymous this morning. I'm seeing a therapist this afternoon. Please, I'll do anything to fix this. I looked at the woman who had tried to destroy my family just yesterday, now standing on my porch begging for forgiveness. Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face, to let her live with the consequences of her actions. But another part of me, the part that remembered the scared 15-year-old girl who discovered her mother's affair, felt a flicker of empathy. Get help, I said finally. Real help, not just promises. Show us with actions, not words, that you want to change. Maybe then we can talk about rebuilding some kind of relationship. But right now, you need to leave. Michael closed the door firmly, shutting out Eleanor's protests and Amanda's tears. Upstairs, we could hear Tommy laughing at his video game, blissfully unaware of the family drama unfolding below. We did the right thing, I said, though it felt like a question. Michael pulled me into his arms, his heartbeat steady against my cheek. We did the only thing we could do. We protected our family, our real family. Through the window, we watched as James led a sobbing Amanda back to the car, as Eleanor's shoulders slumped in defeat as she walked to her own vehicle. The perfect family facade had crumbled completely, but maybe, I thought, something more honest could eventually grow from the ruins. But for now we had a little boy to protect, a marriage to cherish, and a lot of healing to do. 6 months passed, bringing autumn leaves and cooler temperatures. Tommy started 3rd grade, Michael threw himself into work, and I focused on keeping our small family unit strong and stable. We hadn't spoken to Amanda or my in-laws since that day on our porch, though the attempts at contact had continued for weeks. Eleanor left tearful voicemails. James sent lengthy emails. Amanda mailed handwritten letters detailing her progress in therapy and Gamblers Anonymous. We read everything but responded to nothing, needing time to process the decades of lies and the depth of betrayal. Then, on a crisp October morning, while cleaning out more boxes in the basement, I found another letter. This one was different, newer, written on modern stationery, dated just 2 weeks before Amanda's dramatic dinner revelation. Dear James, it began in Amanda's familiar handwriting. I can't keep living with this guilt. The truth about my biological father isn't the only secret I've been keeping. My hands trembled as I read further, understanding finally dawning about why Amanda had been so desperate for money, why she targeted my marriage when I refused to help. This wasn't just about gambling debts. I called Michael at work. You need to come home. There's something you have to see. He'd arrived 30 minutes later, reading the letter with increasing disbelief. She was being blackmailed? He asked, looking up at me. By her biological father. According to the letter, Richard, the former tennis instructor, had resurfaced in Amanda's life 6 months ago. He'd figured out who she was and demanded money in exchange for keeping quiet about Eleanor's affair. Amanda, terrified of the truth coming out, had turned to gambling, convinced she could win enough to pay him off. That's why she needed the money so desperately, I said quietly. That's why she lashed out when I refused to help. She was scared and cornered. Michael sank onto an old chair, dust puffing up around him. Why didn't she just tell us? Tell anyone? Because she'd spent 20 years being the blackmailer, I replied. Maybe she thought she deserved it. Maybe she was ashamed. Or maybe she just didn't know how to ask for help after being the one holding all the power for so long. We sat in silence, processing this new information. Finally, Michael spoke. What do you want to do? I thought about Amanda, about the scared 15-year-old who discovered her mother's affair, about the troubled woman who tried to destroy my marriage, about the sister-in-law who was now, perhaps, truly trying to change. I said slowly, it's time to break the cycle of secrets in this family. The next day, we invited Eleanor and James over. Amanda, too, though we specified that we needed to talk to each of them separately. Eleanor and James came first, sitting stiffly on our couch while Tommy was at soccer practice. I handed them Amanda's unsent letter. Read this, I said. Then we need to talk about how to help your daughter. They read in silence, Eleanor's hand covering her mouth, James's face growing darker with each line. When they finished, Eleanor was crying again. But these weren't the manipulative tears from before. Richard came back, she whispered. He's been threatening my baby. Your baby has been threatening you for 20 years, Michael pointed out, but his voice was gentler than it had been in months. Maybe it's time everyone stopped threatening everyone else with the truth. James cleared his throat. I'll take care of Richard. I should have done it 20 years ago instead of giving in to Amanda's demands. I was a coward. We all were, Eleanor admitted. We thought we were protecting her, but we just taught her that manipulation and secrets were the answer to everything. Amanda arrived an hour later, looking healthier than she had 6 months ago. Her hands shook when she saw her unsent letter on the coffee table. Where did you find that? She asked, her voice barely audible. Same place I found the first one, I replied. The basement seems to be where this family's secrets go to hide. She sank into a chair, all her carefully constructed walls crumbling. I never meant. I was so scared when Richard found me. He knew everything, had pictures of Mom with him from back then. He said he'd ruin everyone's lives unless I paid him. So you tried to ruin my life instead, I said, but without the anger I carried for months. Amanda, why didn't you just tell the truth? She laughed bitterly. The truth? I haven't known how to handle the truth since I was 15 years old. It was easier to be the one in control, the one holding the threats over everyone else. Until it wasn't. Michael leaned forward. Tell us about Richard. Everything. So she did. She told us about his initial contact, his demands, how she tried gambling to raise the money quickly. She told us about her shame when she lost everything, her desperation when I refused to help, her terrible decision to try to destroy my marriage as a last resort. I know it doesn't make it right, she finished, wiping her eyes. Nothing makes it right, but I am getting help. Real help, not just for show. My therapist, she's helping me understand why I became the person I did. Richard won't be a problem anymore, James said firmly. I've already contacted my lawyers. He'll learn what happens when you threaten my daughter. Your daughter? Amanda looked up, tears spilling over. You've never, even after knowing I wasn't really yours. James moved to kneel in front of her chair. Biology doesn't make a father, Amanda. 20 years of secrets and blackmail didn't change the fact that you're my daughter. I failed you by giving in to your demands instead of helping you heal. I won't fail you again. I watched this broken family trying to mend itself, thinking about the power of truth to both destroy and heal. Michael squeezed my hand, and I knew he was thinking the same thing. We can't go back to how things were, I said finally. Too much has happened. But maybe we can go forward differently. No more secrets, no more manipulation. Just truth, even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. I'd like that, Amanda whispered. I'd like to know who I am without all the secrets. Then that's where we start, Michael said. And maybe eventually you can be part of Tommy's life again. But only if you continue getting help, only if you prove we can trust you. Amanda nodded, understanding this wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was a chance. A chance to rebuild, to heal, to become something different than what secrets and lies had made them. Later that night, after everyone had left, Michael and I sat on our porch swing, watching the stars emerge. Do you think we're doing the right thing? He asked, giving them another chance. I thought about the letters in the basement, about family secrets and the damage they cause, about the possibility of healing if you're brave enough to face the truth. I think, I said slowly, that sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. Amanda's learning that. Your parents too. Maybe that's where real change begins. He pulled me closer, and we sat in comfortable silence, knowing that while the road ahead wouldn't be easy, at least it would be honest. Sometimes that's all you can ask for in a family. The chance to start again. With truth as your foundation.